If a child custody case involves more than one state, then the UCCJEA can be a very important law. UCCJEA stands for Uniform Child Custody Jurisdiction and Enforcement Act. And it's what states use, for the most part, to determine which state of two or more states should have jurisdiction to make a child custody determination. That means to rule on child custody. Now, mistakes made early on in a UCCJEA case can have drastic consequences on the outcome of a case. And that's why I made this video. My name is Dave Wolkowitz. I'm a UCCJEA lawyer in Illinois. I represent clients in UCCJEA cases. I consult other lawyers on UCCJEA cases, and I'm available to represent clients on UCCJEA appeals. Let's get started. Okay, before we get into the actual law, I want to give you some background on the UCCJEA. It was developed by the Uniform Law Commission, and that's a body that drafts and proposes laws for every state to adopt so that states have consistent laws about certain things. In this case, it's child custody, or as we call it now in Illinois, allocation of parental responsibilities and parenting time. So all 50 states at this point have adopted the UCCJEA, which is in each state a state law. So just to be clear, the UCCJEA is not a federal law, but it is a uniform law that all 50 states have adopted. So what I'm going to do in this video is go through the UCCJEA, reading many paragraphs of the UCCJEA. I'm not going to read every single word of it, but I am going to work my way through the entire UCCJEA, reading certain portions of it and highlighting certain portions and giving some commentary as we go about my experience and what certain paragraphs might mean, and perhaps in some cases how they can be misinterpreted. So let's get started reviewing the text of the Illinois UCCJEA. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go through the UCCJEA section by section. Now I'm not going to entirely read every section because you could do that on your own if you wanted to, but I am going to try to focus on certain key sections. First, I want to point out the official site for the Illinois UCCJEA, and that is 750 ILCS 36. ILCS stands for Illinois Compiled Statutes. So what we're going to do first is check out definitions. Okay, I'm not going to go over every term that's defined in this law, but I'm going to go over certain key terms. I'm going to read them and give some commentary if I think it's appropriate. So first, let's check out the definition of child custody determination. I'm going to read it now. And that is section 102, paragraph 3 of the Illinois UCCJEA. It states, child custody determination means a judgment, decree, or other order of court providing for the legal custody, physical custody, or visitation with respect to a child. The term includes a permanent, temporary, initial, and modification order. The term does not include an order relating to child support or other monetary obligation of an individual. Okay, so it's important to note here that anytime the court orders something regarding the care of a child or the parenting time of a child, or as we call it in Illinois now, the allocation of parental responsibilities, or when the court orders a child custody determination, what we call in Illinois now allocation of parental responsibilities. Anytime a court orders something like that, that is considered a child custody determination. That's a very important concept within the UCCJEA. So let's move on now. This is section 102, paragraph 4. It defines a child custody proceeding. I'm going to read that now. Child custody proceeding means a proceeding in which legal custody, physical custody, or visitation with respect to a child is an issue. The term includes a proceeding for divorce, separation, neglect, abuse, dependency, guardianship, paternity, termination of parental rights, and protection from domestic violence in which the issue may appear. The term does not include a proceeding involving juvenile delinquency, contractual emancipation, or enforcement under Article 3. So, essentially, in a way, a child custody proceeding involves what you might think it means, but sometimes it involves a little bit more than what you might initially think. So, for example, if a party files a case for a legal separation and that party has children, a child custody proceeding, it can be a child custody proceeding. Furthermore, if there is a case in juvenile court and that case might involve neglect or abuse, that case can be considered a child custody proceeding, even though it might take place in juvenile court, not in domestic relations court in Illinois or another civil court. So let's move on. Now here's a very important concept, and again, we're dealing with section 102, and we're at paragraph 7 of section 102 of the Illinois UCCJEA. The concept we're going to discuss here is home state. Home state is a key concept in the UCCJEA of every state, including Illinois. And here's the definition. Home state means the state in which a child lived with a parent or a person acting as a parent for at least 6 consecutive months immediately before the commencement of a child custody proceeding. In the case of a child less than 6 months of age, the term means the state in which the child lived from birth with any of the persons mentioned. A period of temporary absence of any of the mentioned persons is part of the period. Okay, so let's go over this little by little because home state is a very important concept in the UCCJEA. So first of all, this period of 6 consecutive months is mentioned. So where a child is more than 6 months old, once a child lives permanently in a state for 6 months or more, that state is the home state of a child. Really, so long as that occurred before a child custody case was filed. Now, the definition does address a child less than 6 months of age. So, where you have a child, for example, say 4 months old, the home state is defined as the state in which a child lived in from birth with any of the persons mentioned. Any of the persons mentioned includes a parent or any person acting as a parent. So for example, if a child is 4 months old and lived in Illinois from birth to 4 months old, Illinois is that child's home state, even though that child has not lived in Illinois for 6 months. So let's move on now. Okay, so in the definition of home state, we mentioned the concept of a person or a person acting as a parent. So here in section 102, paragraph 13, person acting as a parent is defined, and it states, person acting as a parent means a person other than a parent who, A, has physical custody of the child or has had physical custody for a period of 6 consecutive months, including any temporary absence within 1 year immediately before the commencement of a child custody proceeding, and B, has been awarded legal custody by a court or claims a right to legal custody under the law of this state. So the key thing to understand here is under the UCCJEA, it's not only parents who can seek relief, that is, ask a court to take jurisdiction of a child custody case, or as we call it in Illinois now, a case for the allocation of parental responsibilities or parenting time. A person who is not a parent but who has custody, physical custody of a child, that is, possession of a child, and who is taking care of that child, maybe as a parent would, that person can also seek relief under the Illinois UCCJEA. So I hope you enjoyed this part 1 of my review of the UCCJEA. There are several parts, so if you want to learn more about the Illinois UCCJEA, then check out the description below and also check out the playlist I have created for the UCCJEA. Now, if you have a UCCJEA case, it is critical that you use a lawyer who is very familiar with the UCCJEA. And that's because what you do early on in your case can have a drastic impact on the rest of your case. A lot of times people make mistakes early on in a case and they don't like the consequences that those mistakes have for them later on. So please consult a lawyer with significant expertise in the UCCJEA if you do have such a case. Thank you for watching. Remember to please click like and check the description for useful links, including how to contact me. Thank you.